everyone. So thanks, Dr. Don and Dr. Pradhan for sharing their valuable session on introduction to art and also the introduction to qualitative research. So now uh, I will going to discuss with you regarding the qualitative data. Okay, and it should be an interactive section. So if you have any questions, you can type in the chat box or we can discuss also. So before that, I think yeah, we can go to the now the questions. So how many are known the qualitative research or how many? Okay, 100%, 97%. Yeah, that is statistically highly significant. So okay, let us discuss in an interactive mode. As Uh, as Dr. Dran already explained, the research. So, what is research? Research is uh, about seeking answer to questions or problem. And what is research design? Research design is about turning this question into research approach. And the strategy would be the question should drive the strategy, not other way around. First, you decide what is your research question. Then, based on your research question, you decide the method. Is it suitable for the qualitative research or quantitative research or mixed method approach is essential. Because I trained myself as a mixed method research background from my during my PhD career. I have both qualitative and quantitative paper. So I would rather suggest first, if you have a very clear-cut problem statement, then you think which approach is appropriate to answer this question. That means the research strategy or the method employed must be appropriate for the question that are sought to be answered. Okay, that means your research question is very important. Then you decide your design or approach. When you go to the approach, there are three main approach: qualitative, quantitative, or you can use both qualitative and quantitative together within a same framework. Certain question could be asked using qualitative approach and could be quantitative. So today we are not going to discuss about various type of mixed method approach like exploratory, explanatory, then convergent, and some advanced mixed method approach. We are going to the qualitative research. So qualitative research is which is very inductive in nature. It generates hypothesis, and always we have a sampling. Many people have question about how many sample we need. It's very propositive sampling. We are not doing any random sampling, and the data collection approach already Dr. Dunn addressed that we can use in-depth interview, focus group discussion, observations, and other. And the data analysis is very flexible. It follows always interactive interpretation. That means in quantitative study, once you collect the data, prepare your complete all data collections, then you prepare a dummy table, then you start analysis. But in qualitative study, simultaneously you can collect the data and analyze the data. You can interpret and find out the gap in find. So it's very flexible in. So today we'll be discuss about the quality. So okay, so
Dr. Sahu,
yeah,
Dr. Sahu, take a pause. Some people are saying not able to hear. Dr. Suraj Prakash, are you able to hear us? Type yes. Other participants, are you able to hear us? Type Y. Okay, maybe Dr. Suraj, the problem is at your end. Okay, let us resume.
so we can have an interaction. Can some of the participants say what you see in this picture?
Just
Please
unmute your microphone and say.
unmute yourself and interact. What you see in this picture?
Anyone? Who want to say, raise your hand.
So my screen is visible. If the screen is visible, just there are two pictures. So what you see in this picture? What do you interpret to see this picture? There is nothing wrong and right. So what you
So
feel? What is it?
just raise your hand who want to say, so I can unmute them. Any volunteer?
The half-filled wine glass.
Okay, half-filled wine glass. Anything else? So anyone else? Any views regarding this picture? Half-filled wine glass. Anyone else?
Okay, we have many answers. Some people are saying to half-filled wine glass. Some people are saying sunset. Some people are saying romantic trip.
Okay.
Walking during sunset.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Padi,
Okay.
for finding the chat box. So my thanks.
One participant has answered very rightly, Dr. Deepansi. Feelings cannot be a quantity. It cannot be expressed. Okay, so those are very good answers.
So I think what I conclude that thanks a lot. Those were answers. So there is nothing wrong in your answer. So that is only your perception. So there is nothing wrong and right in your perception, and that is the qualitative study. We are see what is looking to us. We are just getting information related to people's experience, people perceptions by interacting with them in a group or individually, or also by observing the things. So there is nothing wrong and right in the perception. So qualitative study is a phenomenological approach. We are not going to prove anything. So another important thing is that I cannot say or I cannot explore here that how many people say there is a half empty wine is there, how many people say apple juice is there, how many people are there brother and said that brother and sister, the sunset sunrise. My point is, what are the ways people feel rather than how many people feel that way. So qualitative study always try to answer what are the people perceived it. Even a single people perceive the things, but it provide a new dimension. Our intention is not to measure the things, estimate the things. Once if you want to measure or estimate things, then we'll be do some quantitative study. So now we can move. Everybody know this famous person. He said that not everything that can be counted counts, and not everything that counts can be counted. So I think Einstein also that time realized that the qualitative research is very, very important. So in our as Dr. Dawn explained that in our life many things is that we cannot prove it in the quantitatively. And Dr. Padi also very beginning show one slide that 90% only quantitative research address the only 10% of the problem. Remaining 90% of things we are not able to address or we are not able to measure. But that should be addressed. So hence qualitative research methods are used to collect and analyze the data that cannot be represented by numbers, but it has significant value for the policy implication, for the change of the practice of the people, and for any intervention also. So I am part of many RCT study that was the educational intervention in the antibiotic adherence and also for the waste management, where they're designing the intervention package, education T&C, that is called training and communication package, where multi-stakeholder perspective is very important. So when you are giving any sort of interventions, you need to understand the context. You need to understand the people problem. Then you can design the intervention. So, and where there is a lack of information, you cannot quantify it. And how can you develop your quantitative tool? If there is very limited information is available, in that case, you can go for qualitative studies. So, qualitative study and quantitative study are complement to each other. As Dr. Dahl rightly pointed out, many projects, many funding agencies, they want mixed method. That is called research triangulation, using both qualitative and quantitative approach together. So, qualitative study has its significance in its fields, and one should learn basic qualitative and quantitative approach. That is the requirement, and those are beginning of the research career. They must know. So first you will be MBBS, then you will be the some specialist. But at least you, if you want to know research, then you must have some basic knowledge in qualitative, quantitative, and also mixed method. How could we mix together? We can discuss also mixed method approach some other time. But today will be focused on the qualitative data. So the data type, qualitative data usually generate textual information. So that's why we are not able to count or we are not able to experiment. So it's a systematic collection and organization and interpretation of textual information. The key message is here, in qualitative data, we always generate some textual information. And mostly we are using inductive approach. Some cases we are inducting approach, but we are using inductive approach because we are start from zero. Means where there is little information is there, then we can go more in depth and more in depth, more in depth, and generate novel insight into the phenomenon. Any phenomena which are very difficult to measure. So we are using inductive approach. Second, what is the outcome? So in quantitative study, we always say what happened, how many happened, what is the odds ratio, is there any significant difference or not, p-value, confidence interval. But here we always study comprehensive description. Comprehensive description of the process. That means what happening and mechanism, how it is happening, when it is happening, and where it is happening, which setting it is happening. We're providing a comprehensive description of the process, mechanism, and shaping of a particular phenomena or particular object. So this is the major difference between quantitative and qualitative study. Qualitative study is always based on the phenomenology. Phenomenology means what is the people views. There is nothing wrong and right in their perception. But quantitative study is based on positivism. Positivism is which you can prove using certain approach. So, and the qualitative study always generate a concept, and quantitative study help to verify that. That's why in qualitative study, we always question why, what proposes, and other hand, quantitative study answer how often, how many happen. That's why as we are generating very textual information, the participant number is very few, and we are also using purposeful sampling in qualitative study. As our intention to generate in-depth textual data, collect their experience, their perception, their views towards a particular, and that's why we are using inductive approach. That means maybe initially we don't know anything, but we add on information. But our objective is not to count it. Our objective is to what dimension it's provide to the phenomenon. What are the variables? So that's why we are going in a interactive approach. And we are sometimes when we are grounded, using grounded theory and certain approach, we can generate a hypothesis rather than testing the hypothesis. So, so this is the basic difference between qualitative and quantitative studies. So these are the various approach, data collection approach. So, and this textual information could be collected by talking or discussion. So you have to listen carefully, you have to record it, and you have to transcribe it, translate it. We will go through all the process. It could be the in-depth interview, one-to-one discussion. It could be the focus group discussion. That means a group discussion which focus on a specific objective, or it could be some observational study. It could be passive or active observation, or you could review the document. Some document is there where there is very few quantitative data. Number is there, but still the document is very important. You can analyze and document. Then you can do some social mapping, PRA, PLA methods. Then you also, this qualitative approach also help you to go from the how to go from the qualitative to quantitative. There is a SDC, structured data collection approach, how to do pre-listing, ranking, and file sorting. So these are the various data collection approach in popularly used data collection approach in studies. Then sampling already, what I already discussed, always we go for a purposeful or non-probability sampling, because our intention is not to represent or generalize the finding, rather than we get some in-depth informations. Yes, we can theoretically generalize. We can generate a theory if we are using bounded theory approach, but we cannot generalize our finding to that particular population. Hence, we don't need any random population, but we have proportionate sampling. Those person, those are the key informants, those who can give very precise answer or elaborate answer to our objective. So we have to select accordingly. Then come to the number. Many people have questions that how many interview or how many IDM we should conduct. There is no fixed rules for sample sizing.
Just Dr. Sahu, just take a poll. How many of them understand about the sampling? So
Yes.
I am launching the poll.
Yes.
Answer. Till date, whatever Dr. Sahu said, you are able to understand. Just read. Okay. So I am ending the poll. Okay, 5%, 8% people are not cleared about. So can you please type I in the chat box so that we will help you about the sampling and till date, whatever we said. Just type I in the chat box if you are in that 8%. Okay, lovely. Can you please unmute and ask your concern?
Yes.
One more people, 2FBA. So these two people, so can you ask what is the concern?
Yeah, you can directly ask. Already beginning I said that it will be interactive section. Although
Yes.
because of time I am running, so you can interact.
Dr. Sahu has also promised he will be helpful for another session for a detail. So in next session, we will invite only one speaker in that session and we will spend 2 hours at least. Are you okay, Dr. Sahu?
Yes, yes, I'm very much
okay. Thank you.
So yeah, this is just orientation.
So, these two people.
Yeah,
say what is your concern? Basically, for the qualitative, we don't have any fixed sample size. And for the sampling method, we use a purposive sample, non-probability sampling. That is the only drawback in this research. Okay, so should we continue? Type yes. Why?
Yes, I can debrief it whatever I explained for them. Yeah, qualitative study we usually generate textual data. Our intention is not to count. Whenever you want to count then we use random or probability sampling, because that is representative sampling. Each and everyone have equal chance to participate in the study. That means I will say now out of 100 people, now I am going to answer one answer. I am going to ask one question. Then please prepare yourself. Then what happened now? Every 100 people will be aware, because I will only ask 5 people, but everyone have equal chance, though they are not participated in the study. So that because that we want to generalize that. in quantitative study. But in qualitative study, our intention is not generalize, not to count. Our intention is to to know what are the various dimensions to that problem. What are the new variable coming? What are the new information coming to that phenomenon? So maybe it could be from one participant, but it matter a lot. The sample, the pool result pool we get. Maybe you are one student are not understanding, but as I am a qualitative researcher, that was very important for us. Even why that particular person is not understand. So our intention is to understand the various times. So that's why you don't need any sample size calculation. We are purposefully select the person who could give the key informations, the information we want. So that's why we need non-probability or purposive sampling. So there is no standard rule for the sample size calculations, but we can collect the data as for the data saturation. Data saturation in the sense some information is repeatedly emerging, then we thought that okay, no new information is coming, then we can stop our study. So here is a chart. There are various approach, qualitative research approach is there. Ethnographic approach is there, where we study the context and culture. Then narrative is there, where we study the individual experience. Then phenomenology, people who have experienced a phenomena. Case study. Then the grounded theory, where we develop a theory from the grounded in the field data. In that case, the range of some number of participants is given. If you do any ethnographic study, yeah, it's given just 1 to 20 participant. You can in-depth interview, you can present. Similarly, narrative also 1 to 20 participant you can take. Phenomenology 5 to 25, but you can take more also. But within 25, you should get enough data. But if you have stratified something, various group or something comparing, then you can take more, no issue. But this is the minimum requirement. Then in case of grounded theory, you need little bit more sampling, more participant, because you are grounded something. You can get the data, analyze the data, then construct a conceptual framework or model. Then you find out what is preliminary analysis and find out what is the gap in my model. Then go for the next participant, who will be my next suitable participant. What information I need to fill that. That's why in grounded theory, little bit more sample size required, and it is very tough. And Dr. Fadi is, that
Dr. Krishna, Dr. Sao, just take a pause. Basically, people should understand the grounded theory we use where we don't have any prior information about that issue or that topic. For example, say corona. In corona vaccine or corona virus, we don't have any prior knowledge, prior literature. There is nothing about that topic available. In that case, you want to establish some facts, some hypothesis. In that case, you will use that grounded theory approach. Means where is like Dr. Sao used first time the grounded theory, that how the sanitation is affecting a psychosocial stress among women. So he used the grounded theory. So grounded theory is a very good model where there is nothing is available. So use that model. So please continue, Dr. Sao.
Yeah. Thank you. So this is, and there are various type of data analysis approaches there. You can say content analysis. You can use it in quantitative way. You can use in qualitative content analysis, discourse analysis, narrative analysis. I think gradually, if this workshop continue, we can discuss one by one each things. And within 1 hour, really it is very difficult to give. But the objective of this workshop is to give some brief idea about the qualitative data, then thematic framework analysis, grounded theory. But today I'll give some example, and also how could we go for the thematic analysis, how to code and form category and theme, and which will be more helpful for the using the software, and why we are using software, and how the software will be helpful. So these are the various data analysis approaches there. Then this is the overall. This is a roadmap. So how to do qualitative study and where to end. First, you have to decide your objective. if your objective is fitted to the qualitative study, then you decide what type of data collection approach you will use. Use in-depth interview or focus group discussion. There is session also how to develop in-depth interview guide and how to develop FGD guide and what is open-ended question, closed-ended question, probe. So these are a lot of things are there. So you have to then you conduct your recruit your participant, and remember you will use purposive sampling. Then you collect the data collection. Then you must digitally record your data. Digital means audio or video recorded data. Yes, you can take note, but sometimes when you take note, there will be chance of missing a lot of exact information. When you interact with the or facilitate the focus group discussion or interact in the in-depth interview, then by the time you can, it is not it is very difficult to note out all the information. So that's why you can try to record the data. Uh, Audio recording, but some complex cases, if it is not very sensitive, you can take video recording, but you can take audio, always audio recording. Then after that, you can debrief. Debrief means after coming back from the field, you can discuss with your team what are the challenges, what new information is coming, where you are not, because sometimes it's it's very flexible nature. You can change your question anytime, not like the quantitative studies. Once you fix your question means, if your participant is 200 or 600, same question you will be used for all the participants. But here you can little bit modify the question, then you can answer. So then once you get the data, then you can transcript it. So you can listen that and note it down line by line. So means word by word. So no need to summarize, no need to use their brain. Just without any translation, you can do analysis. But unless you will not generate a English transcript, then you cannot able to use the software. You can R or MaxQDA or Atlas T or NVivo, whatever the software is there, they just help to organize the data. So that's why you need to translate, means English transcript. So, but remember, do not summarize it, do not change the language. I will be also, I have one slide. If some cases, some English word is, some regional language word is there, it's very difficult to translate it, or when you translate the meaning is changed, so you can have prepare a no translation. So put it in italic in your regional language. Okay, then once your English transcript is ready, then you start analysis. There are two type of analysis. You can go for open coding. Open coding means initially you do not have any framework. You can read line by line and also code it. Code it means give a suitable label to that sentence. Level to that sentence. If you have uses some framework approach or you have a standard code, then prepare a code system, then just drag and mark it in the software to that. So you have to, and in this case you can use the software. And software is yesterday I had a discussion with Dr. Padi. Many people think that when you are using software even in qualitative or quantitative, so just put the data, software give a very good manuscript which you could publish. We can contact Dr. Dunn and put your data. No, that is not that. So you have to organize your data. You have to think yourself. You have to put your brain into the data. But the software only help to organize the data. It will organize. It will be quickly organize the data, which will be very difficult to do it in manual. But if you have wrong coding, giving wrong name to wrong code, then it is not. So that's why you have to prepare a memo books also. So suppose you have a list of codes or code system, then you can see what type of data or which information will be going to which type of code. So then you can have coding. But thus here I can emphasize again, whatever the software you can use R, Max, NVivo, Atlas. So it just help to organize, and that is really very, very helpful. Then you choice the analysis. You can use thematic, content, framework, IPA. Many psychological field they are using IPA. Then you can use grounded theory, ethnographic approach. Once ready with your result and start the writing your result section. Then you can have some quality checkup like you can enhance like quantitative study. You can enhance the quality of the finding also. Members check, feedback, stakeholders opinion. Then finally you can generate a report or manuscript for preparation. So this is the overall roadmap for qualitative data analysis, starting from objective to report preparations. Yeah, I can take some time. If anybody have any
Take a
doubt,
pause.
yeah,
Dr. Sahu, take a pause.
yeah.
Let us take a poll. How many understood this concept now till that, till
I-
this slide?
Yeah, this is
Type yes.
detail. Everything is present in a roadmap. We spend our qualitative team to lot of time to prepare this. Please, if you are not understand, say.
Okay, I'm ending the poll in next 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So one people is not understand. Only two, three. Three people did not understand. Those three people, please note down Dr. Sahu's number or email ID is there. Dr. Sahu is in the WhatsApp group also. Please contact. Also, if you can ask your concern right now, we will help you.
Yeah.
We can provide you. Otherwise, you will coding, please. Okay, I will explain those coding. Dr. Sahu, briefly tell about coding.
Yes.
Then I will show how you can do coding in R.
Yes. Yes. So we can move to the next slides.
Coding and memo. These are the two questions
Okay. So
they are not
this is,
able to
yeah,
understand.
yeah. This is
So
the,
Dr.
yeah.
Sahu will explain.
We can repeat that code, and we have one more slide. That was the overall map, roadmap for the qualitative research. Any beginner, it will have what are the various steps is there, but we will be discuss detailed code, memo, theme, memo, all things we will discuss. Then next is that data management, steps in data management. First, we have to very important thing that when we conduct the interview, we must digitally recording the data. Okay. Then second is transcription. Third is translation. Okay. So what we do in this, we save the data audio recording, transfer the audio recording to your computer and sometimes thumb drive. You know that sometimes we put very important time to conduct the interview, and it is very valuable for you as well as participant. But sometimes we are not miss that file. So always try to put it in the two device. Rename the file according to the data naming protocol. So you can rename the file in such a way, then you can easily locate it. Sometimes what happens, it's usually challenge. So you have many project, many things in your system, many audio file is there. So you will be not able to locate the audio file. So you have to properly name it. Then they prepare the written transcript. Right? Make a cover sheet. Cover sheet means basic demographic informations and what are the duration of interview, who conduct the interview, where you conduct the interview. Then when you transcribe it, capture the things word by word. No need to use your brain. Just listen and write. Just listen and write. And label the participant as I and interviewer as R. Whenever the interviewer says, label it as I. And whenever the participant says, respondent says, then you can say R. Or P you can take also, no issue. And you can write the word by word in such a way that try to capture some symbol also, where the participant stop, where the participant silence, the laugh and inaudible. You know that this emotional statement and sometimes the silence has also significant meaning in qualitative study. Interpret it. If you ask some sensitive questions, they keep silence for 1 minute. Then that has a very important meaning for the qualitative. And another point is write time every 5 minutes. When you transcribe it, write 5 minutes, 5 minutes, 5 minutes time. Why? When you ever cross-check this audio and English transcript and the regional language transcript, if you mention the time, it is very easy for you to cross-check it. But suppose your information is in the 5 to 10 minutes, so you have to listen only that part, or you have to review that part in all the transcription. You don't need to read whole the 40 minutes or 1 hour transcription and translation file. So similarly, when you translate it, prepare some note translation word and exactly word by word you translate it. No need to writing very high-fi English. Just you make simple translation. So then so as you cannot lose the meaning, and don't summarize it. So once your transcript is ready, or English version of transcript is ready, then you can use software to organize the data. But up to this stage, you can do it manually. Some people say also, can you use Google Translator? Yes, you can use, but you know that it is meaningless. Sometimes it will lose the many meaning. So because and we are not conducting the interview in English language. Second thing also, if even English language also, your speech, your voice, or whatever you are sharing, that is different. So sometimes so manually listen and write, listen and write. That was the suggested way. So this is the steps for qualitative data management. Then how to renaming files. Suppose I have planned to conduct in-depth interview, then I have ID, focus group discussion, FGD, FG. Then my participant is adolescent, NM, newly married, pregnant, and adult woman. So I renaming them. Then the initial of the interviewer, then date. So then data type. So when I got the audio file, I can type ID. This is the in-depth interview. This conducted among the pregnant women who conducted Krishna Sahu case when conducted 16th, 12th, 13th. So date is days 16th December 12th, then 13th year. Then it's if I conducted two in that day, you can write A or B. Then TS. TS means transcription. TL means translation. So you can rename in such a way, then you can easily locate your file. You can easily locate your file. So it will be not much difficult for you. So this is the file naming procedure. Otherwise, if you can save in other way, that's fine. But the only intention is that you can quickly locate your data. Okay. So this is the cover sheet. What information in it? Data type, then population and study area, where you conducted, date, time, then length of interview 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, who conducted the interview, transcriber, who transcribed that, transcription date, who translate that, translation date. So these are the information also useful to organize your data. Then another very important thing is that you could anonymize the names, anonymize the de-identification. Means wherever any name is there, for the sake of confidentiality, for the ethical protection, you can just mark a line. No need to write the name, because we do not have doing any analysis with the name, even it is a quantitative or qualitative study. So you can de-identify it with the audio file also. Some participants say my name is dash. Some participants say the person XX is XS suggest me. So you can write the justice. No need to means so the name. This is the ethical issue. Again, so whenever I already told that, try to capture some non-verbal language also. Suppose short pause, long pause, you can use this symbol, or otherwise you can write also short pause. Suppose I said something, just some some region stop. But you know that in qualitative study, there is a reason for every activities, for every action. I may stop. So why? Maybe my device is not working. I'm just explaining. Maybe I didn't know what to do. Maybe I feel very same to that question. So long pause, short pause, it has the importance. So you have to code it. Short pause, long pause. Then when they laugh, so you also when they laugh, you can write. When they cry, also you can mention the cry. And sometimes something is not audible. You can write inaudible because you know that very important. It's where you conduct the FGD or idea. That place is very noisy, so it's very difficult to transcribe it, and it's not sometimes it's not audible. So you remove the name, and sometimes some word you have to emphasize it, and you can underline it. So this is some non-verbal communications which is very important for the when you do transcribe it, even translate it. So many people summarize it. You do not summarize. Then once you get it, then when you analyze it, then you can get the exact meaning of the finding. So this is very important things. Then example is interviewer. What words do we use to describe your menstruation? Stops. So double pouch. So instead of using this symbol, you can write also long quotes. You can say we say over the moon. So they laughter. So you can use this symbol also. So when you, but even in your regional language as well as when you translate it and mention the time. So here's every 5 minutes, 503, every 5 minutes, you have to write the time. So why it is very important? When you want to cross-check these three audio file, then your transcript, English transcript and regional transcript, if you mention the time, only you have to read this or listen the audio about this 5 to 10 minutes. So this is very important things every 5 minutes. And sometimes do not translate words. Some word when you translate it to regional means English language, you will lost the meaning. So that's why you also initially when you decide which word, so you can write it also. Then you can write means do not translate this means you can put this language in your local language, even in your manuscript also you can use this language. So this is very important because qualitative study is context specific. If some information is losing its meaning, so no need to translate it in English language. You have to put it in exact word in italicized and in bracket. You can describe what is the meaning of that sentence. Then now we will go for the qualitative suite data analysis approach. Like it is a range of process. The objective is that the text information was converted to some form of understanding, explanation, or interpretation. So, very beginning, I am saying that we are collecting textual information. Verbal information means I am talking just normal discussion, then you are answering that. So, that information you have to convert it into some form of understanding, some form of explanation or interpretation of that particular situation or context or phenomena as per your objective of the study. So that's why it's based on an interpretive approaches rather than statistical approaches. It is an interpretive. We have to read again and again, and we have to find the meaningful uh, meaning and also some symbolic value to that information. So this is the main objective of the qualitative data analysis. You have to give some, and this information is very useful for the policy, evidence synthesis, practice change, and this for the future interventions design, and also this information is very much useful for the further quantitative study also, development of tool for the quantitative study. It has must share some significant meaning. So whatever the information will be get, you can give some important value to that information. Uh, Either in a latent or in a manifest way. So we will discuss what is latent and what is manifest. So when you do qualitative data analysis, you should focus on the primary point is content. So today we are not discussing all the things. Many people have a not developed a proper in-depth interview guide. They have a very close-ended question. They are not put the question properly, or their tool is not developed properly. That's why they lose the information. So here information should capture the content. Content is very important. Then
Dr. Sahu,
yes,
we have two questions. We have
yes,
few
sure.
questions in the chat box. So
Yes.
let us clear that out.
Yes.
So Dr. Subhasri Dhanush is asking, sir, are these symbols designated according to the individual interviewer's choice, or there are standard symbols for the transcript?
This is the standard symbol for the transcript. It is not the choice of the interviewer, but yes, you can design your own symbol. No matter. But the main intention of the symbol is that we could capture some symbolic interactions. That should be captured. That should not lose the meaning. So these are the standard symbol used in many books, and we Dr. Padis know that we use for our study. But if you could use your symbol, that's fine. Yeah. But the main yes, please.
One more question is there, sir. I have doubt on this method. Basically, those we have discussed in previous slide. Usually, the method should be perfect, that each step can be repeated exactly. But here, one study cannot be repeated, as far as I understand. So, does this issue make our study weak?
No, Dr. Padi. So today I will not cover that session. There is a full session, 2-3 hour session is that trustworthiness in qualitative research. Like how to improve the credibility of your findings, what we call validity and reliability in quantitative research. So that you are designing that how sampling and stratification, all the things. Similarly, in qualitative studies, there are many approach. I will be post some article in that WhatsApp group. You can improve your study trustworthiness. So now you know that initially it was very difficult to publish the qualitative article. Now even Lancet also people are publishing qualitative studies. I saw some study in the initial outbreak of the COVID in China. They just interviewed 15 nurse and 10 doctor, and they published in the Lancet. So I think it has a approach how to improve your trustworthiness of the study. There is triangulation is there. That is then peer briefing, members checks. Many step is there, and there is also standard guideline. Many checklist is there. Not like quantitative study. Correct checklist is there. Then another checklist is there. SRQR is there. So many checklist is there. So there are many approaches that you can improve the trustworthiness you're finding.
So one participant is raising the hand, Divya Munga. So please unmute and ask your question.
Yes, please.
Divya.
Yes, sir. Good evening, sir. Yes, sir.
Good evening.
Yes, sir. I want to ask, is the translation is must? Because what, sir, मैंने 12 interviews ली थी और मैंने उसे ऐसे ही लिखा है जैसे उन्होंने वर्ड्स में बोला, उसके बाद उसके कोट्स बनाए, मतलब लिखा हिंदी को इंग्लिश में ही है, बट वैसे ही उसके कोट्स बनाए थे. तो विल इट गो? बिकॉज इवेंचुअली तो हमने थीम्स बनाने हैं ना, तो थीम्स में तो इंग्लिश ही आ रही है. The point I'm asking is it important to translate Hindi to English?
Yeah, very good question. Also, recently we published that paper was accepted in Primary Healthcare Research and Development in Cambridge Journal. It was the elderly couple experience during the COVID-19. Elderly couple, those are living. One of the reviewers suggests no need to translate also into English. The meaning will be lost, and he also shared one very good paper. Which is published by some researcher from the Norway and from Sweden and Netherlands. So that paper I will say. I will say no. Sometimes during translation, many times we lose the meaning. So if you find out the concept by reading again and again your Hindi or regional language transcript, that is fine. So that's why I'm very careful now. Say, okay, mention time limit, or sometimes so you have to cross check. Sometimes English translation is not clear. You have to go to the regional language version of the translation. Sometimes you have to listen also. So that is not means mandatory for doing the translation. But if you want to take help of the software to analyze the data, it's very difficult. So that's why we need to analyze the means translate the means the transcript in English language. Then you can take the help of the software to organize the data. Is
Okay,
it
sir.
clear?
Yes, sir.
So
Yes,
I will
yes,
share
sir.
both the paper.
Oh, thank you, sir.
Yeah.
So anybody has any questions? Just ask Dr. Sahu, because we are running late. We have another 2-3 speakers are there. So if anybody has asked question, Dr. Sahu is there to answer you till these slides. Just raise your hand. Okay, nobody.
Yeah,
So let us
yeah, yeah. So, when you have text data, so our primary point is the content. So in quantitative study, we have all content mentions. There is no way to missing the information, because they will be say yes or no. If they are not answered, then definitely means missing data. But here, what type of means your content should be related to your objective, focused on your objective. Some maximum time you diverted from your content. So that should be very new, very innovative. So you should very careful. Then along with that, you can also say evaluate the attitude of the participants. Then also you say, is it a very individual experience, or it's a group shared experience? Means, is it happening in that community, that society, or it's happened at individual level? Then sometimes some people also not say, okay, it's a actual versus hypothetical experience. You interview someone, he can share something very means hypothetical things, means which is not happening, fabricating and creating the story. That you have to consider during the analysis. But it's happened, yeah, because again, you're not much judgmental, because it's only we are collecting their perception or views, whatever they're thinking. But in that case, you say what makes it might be their perception in that way, but what are the dimension of that person perception? What are the factor influencing that person? What are the motivating factors? What are the demotivating factors? Now that so many people are using before intervention qualitative studies to that. Now there are advanced behavioral model is using for the COMB and your MOAB theory. Many advanced model is used to collect the data and also implement also. So you have to somehow test also it's the actual information or hypothetical. Then you can summarize the content also. So certain content key points that emerge from the underlying the specific activity. So you have to summarize. Once you complete your interview, then what are the key information, key point emerge? You can summarize also. That helps you to writing. Then self memo. Self memo means allow you to make a record of the idea which occurred for you about any aspects of the research as you think of them. So there are two type of memo. Self memo means suppose you went one place, the interviewer participant are not ready to participate in the study in that time. So you decided which time is suitable when you interview working person, when you interview means homemakers or we can say housewife or something. So school children. So you have to decide the time, which time is very suitable time, because you know that the data is depend on the time. Suppose if you go in a very odd time, they are not feel comfortable, so they may not share the information. Even where you conduct the interview also, that is matter a lot. So you are asking in front of family members, one newly married woman, regarding their means experience with the husband and mother-in-law. So can you expect the answer? No. So you have to choose suitable place also. So that is 3-4 session is there, how to conduct FGD, how to conduct IDI. So that is session is there. So today will be go for the qualitative data. Okay. So then the principle of qualitative analysis, basically it is the constructivity. Many meanings is there. People differ in their experience, true, and the and understanding of reality. So many people have different experience. They attached their meaning in a various way, and that gives a dynamic dimension to your objectives. Then you have to interpret it. Another thing is that it's very context bound. That means social phenomena cannot be understood outside its own context. Very important to researcher understand the context where they collecting information. So that and another important point is where you don't forget that you are trying to understand the human behavior. So when you try to understand the human behavior, it's not a linear way. It's very non-linear. Gradually you have to understand it. Gradually you have to go more in depth or insight into the problem. You have to think. So that's why when you conduct a GT or IDI, so you don't think yourself as expert. Put the participant as expert, then you put as a student. You try to learn from them. So sometimes what happens, we are not going to then teach lessons. Then it gives also generate theory on the grounded data. So these are the basic principle of qualitative data analysis. Then what are the feature is there? What we discuss, it's close interaction with the data. That means it is not like I collected some data, then quantitative data I share with Dr. Padi without any discussion. Also, if I share the variable everything, Dr. Padi can analyze it and he could publish a very good journal. But whenever qualitative data, you have to interact with. Sometimes you may not understand the meaning. So close interaction is very, very essential to understand the data among your research team. Sometimes you can take the peer feedback. Sometimes you go to the participant again back. That is called repeat interview or the members checks. That approach is there. So these are the steps you could do. Yeah, Dr. Padi.
So we have a question. We have a very good question. Utkarsh, Dr. Utkarsh, can you please unmute and ask the question? You have a very valid question right now. Dr. Utkarsh, please unmute and ask the question.
Yes, Dr. Padi, let him to answer. So I have how many minutes to complete this section?
So
Sir, we wanted to ask, is there any researcher bias?
Yeah, researcher bias is there. That is called pre-understanding. That's why you should bracketed your pre-understanding. Pre-understanding in the sense, so every researcher have specific interest. As we are human beings, we have definitely some personal interest. So that should not affect the research. That's why there is a principle is that whenever you go to the collect the quantitative data, you should not apply your pre-understanding. So you should bracketed your pre-understanding. So I will give you an example of our SARE study. So the sanitation and psychosocial study where we throw out the 14 FGD. We are not using it for our analysis because so our intention is that we conducted 14 focus group discussion among the reproductive age women in various settings like slum, rural and tribal setting. Then our intention was to that ask the people about their stress in their life, challenges in their life. So among these challenges, the sanitation related challenge should be emerge explicitly. You should not raise the sanitation word in that FGD, but it should come there if they have a challenge. But what happened, our facilitator when interview, 5 minutes over, 10 minutes over, no sanitation related stress are coming. Then 15 minutes, 20 minutes over. So suddenly what they become impatient. They say, do we have Latin in your house? So suddenly, that after that, all the challenges and all the stressors are only related to sanitation. So like this happened. So because there are two chances that the bias. One is the leading question, another one is the pre-understanding. So do not put the question in a leading way. Leading question means where you suggest the answer. You suggest the answer from your side. That means you force your participant to tell that answer. So avoid leading question. And another point is that you just bracketed your pre-understanding. So yeah, there is chance of bias. There is approach to measure also. Yes.
So Dr. Sahu, may I request you to show your last slide, that sanitation related psychosocial stress, so that we will pause your presentation today here, and again we will continue in some other day.
Yes, yes.
So please show your last slide.
Yeah, I
Because
can
we have to
briefly.
respect the time.
Yes, sure,
Other-
sure. I can briefly share within 2-3 minutes. I'll complete. So the qualitative model focus on you collect the data, think about the data, and notice the things. Notice things have a big circle. What you have to notice is very important, and there are various steps for the qualitative data analysis. I'll skip that, but I'll go for the thematic analysis, which will be helpful for the next session. So the objective of thematic analysis is to describe a phenomenon. Okay, so when you describe the phenomena, so you have a transcript, then you read one by one line from the transcript, and you identify the words or sentence which are related to your focus on your objective of the study. Then you condensed it, then you give a label meaning to that sentence. That is called code. So first you identify the meaning units, which are the text which are related to your objective of the study. Then you condensed it, or you can directly generate a code label. The code may be a single word or 2 to 3. You can label it. Then once you generate many codes from all the interview, all the transcript, then you categorize all similar codes together. Categorize all similar code together, or group all similar code together. That gives the category. Once you get many category and put the category into a bigger umbrella, that is called theme. So this is the way you are going. First transcript, from transcript you get codes, from codes you organize, then you generate a category, then you get theme. Sometimes using the software you can generate the codes also. If you have a code and if you have a structure or framework skeleton, using that code also you can drag the data or information as per your code also. So this is the category and code in thematic analysis, and this is just example of thematic analysis how that. And this is my last slides for whatever things we did for the this model. And this is a very highly cited paper, and I think for 4 times I invited for this paper to USA and also some webinar on this, and it's a very good paper for the policy in improvement of sanitation. So, but we thought sanitation as a challenge for the physical health. No, sanitation have also significant challenge for the physical health than the psychosocial health of the women than the physical health. So these are the study, and I think now we can end here the party. So yeah, it's very difficult to explain all things in a single class, but we can have some specific discussions. Yeah, maybe we can take 1-2 questions or reaction from the participants. Either they are able. Yeah.
So admin, please unmute all. We need a clap for Dr. Sahu for his valuable time and patience.
Yeah, this is
Admin,
my
please
email.
unmute and make a clap. Thank you, Dr. Sahu.
Thank you.